Hi guys, I'm Isha and I teach IELTS and PT. We have seen that you guys are practicing our previous questions and the previous videos that we have put for write from dictation and repeat sentences. So here we go with our next video, and this video is going to help you with listening fill in the blanks. I have seen that many students are facing issues, in spelling mistakes or in S, ES, ED, these kinds of small errors, due to which you're not able to get really good scores in your listening as well as writing module. We do have an institute here as well in Blacktown, Sydney. The address is updated over here. If you're looking forward to any kind of assistance in form of face-to-face classes or online classes, if you're located anywhere across the globe, feel free to get in touch with us on this number. So this is the video that is going to give you latest 50 predicted listening fill in the blanks that might get repeated in your exam. I just want you to take a quick look and have a notebook in front of yourself. Note down all the incorrect spellings, make a proper list, and make sure that you revise them when your exam is going to approach soon. So here we go.
Doctors have been concerned for a long time about people Googling their symptoms. There's this term, doctor. Google, which is really frustrating to a lot of physicians, because people come in and think that they know what they have without having the actual expertise or context, just by having looked up, "I have a headache." What does it mean? GPT software is much better at actually being accurate in determining what patients have and asking sometimes follow-up questions that will help it further hone in on the correct diagnosis. Companies are starting to study this, and preliminary research suggests the AIs are surprisingly accurate. Studies have shown that they work better than online symptom checkers, which are websites that let you input your symptoms and spit out a diagnosis. They're also better than some untrained humans. The free phone is the Samsung U740 handheld mobile device, which has MP3, video, text message, and instant message functions. Students will earn text messages, talk time, and other rewards, such as free ringtones, music downloads, or event tickets, through their performance in school, the Education Department said in a news release. Students will be evaluated on the basis of attendance and behavior, along with 3 other indicators, such as homework completion, class participation, or course grades, chosen by educators and customized to address academic priorities in their specific schools. Administrators will have access to significant new data on student performance, allowing them to track the short-term indicators that contribute to larger goals of boosting student achievement and graduation rates.
In America, there is certainly the potential for ethnic conflict. Categorically, our colossal metroplexes will not be sustainable in a post-oil future. And despite the wishes and yearnings of many people, the truth is that no combination of alternative fuels will permit us to continue living at this scale. Some of our cities will not make it. Phoenix, Tucson, and other Sunbelt cities will dry up and blow away. In Las Vegas, the excitement will be over. Other megacities will have to downscale or face extreme dysfunction. One thing that almost nobody is paying attention to: the skyscraper will not be a viable building type in our energy-scarce future. 6 or 7 stories must be the practical limit in a new age when electric supply is not necessarily as reliable as it has been in our time. Cities overburdened with megastructures will have a severe liability.
So what is quantum mechanics? Even though it was discovered by physicists, it's not a physical theory in the same sense as electromagnetism or general relativity. in the usual hierarchy of sciences, with biology at the top, then chemistry, then physics, then maths. Quantum mechanics sits at a level between maths and physics that I don't know a good name for. Basically, quantum mechanics is the operating system that other physical theories run on as application software, with the exception of general relativity, which hasn't yet been successfully ported to this particular OS.
I think that's not going to be such a viable option for Cerberus, but that may be the way that they're going to approach it. Private equity, of course, is supposed to have the advantage of taking management out of the spotlight of quarterly profits and industry analysts and prying shareholder eyes. And that, hypothetically, gives them a chance to take slower, more patient routes to doing something to turn a company around. I would hope, and I have some, optimism, that some of the Cerberus team will have some creativity and imagination.
In recent years, the phenomenon of climate change has garnered widespread attention. It is widely acknowledged that human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation, have significantly contributed to this global issue. Scientists around the world are urgently researching sustainable solutions to mitigate the effects of climate change. Among these, renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power are increasingly being viewed as vital components of a more sustainable future. However, transitioning to these cleaner energy sources, investment, and international cooperation.
Art is a reflection of human expression. It takes various forms, from visual arts like painting and sculpture to performing arts like dance and theatre. Throughout history, art has been used to communicate ideas, emotions, and cultural values. It serves as a means of creative communication, allowing artists to convey their perspectives and interpretations of the world. In recent years, technology has opened up new possibilities for art, with digital media, virtual reality, and interactive installations expanding the boundaries of artistic exploration. Art has the power to inspire, challenge, and provoke thought, making it an essential part of our lives. It is a testament to human creativity and the desire to express the ineffable.
The impact of climate change on our planet is becoming increasingly evident. Rising temperatures, more frequent extreme weather events, and melting glaciers are just a few of the signs that our climate is changing. To combat this crisis, it is essential for individuals, communities, and governments to take proactive actions. One of the most effective ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is to transition to renewable sources of energy, such as solar and wind power. Additionally, conservation efforts, like reforestation and protecting endangered species, can help maintain the balance of our ecosystems. In the face of this global challenge, cooperation and collective action are crucial to safeguarding our planet for future generations.
Space exploration has always been a source of endless fascination and scientific discovery. From the first human landing on the moon in 1969 to the recent exploration of Mars, humans have been driven by their innate curiosity to understand the universe beyond our planet. The development of advanced propulsion technologies has allowed us to send robotic spacecraft to explore distant worlds in our solar system. These missions have provided valuable insights into the geology, climate, and potential habitability of other celestial bodies. Looking forward, the next frontier in space exploration is the search for exoplanets beyond our solar system, which could potentially harbor extraterrestrial life.
The Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century, marked a significant breakthrough in human history. It brought about a rapid revolution in technological advancements, leading to the mechanization of various industries. This period witnessed the emergence of steam engines, textile mills, and the growth of urban centers. As a result, there was a substantial expansion in the demand for labor, particularly in factories. Workers faced harsh working conditions, long hours, and low wages, which eventually contributed to labor movements and the fight for workers' rights.
Brad, as I was saying, Professor Mitchell. Lisa, oh, please call me Lisa. Brad, yes, well, Lisa, well, I'm still trying to get my head around the choice of electives for the optional part of the third-year program. I was thinking of taking personal taxation law and company tax, together with the extra 5 credit point course on goods and services and VAT-type taxes. But I'm a bit concerned that I'm going to pigeonhole myself too early in the course. Lisa, yeah, Brad, as you know, there are going to be interviews for summer clerkships coming up, and I really don't want to come across as too focused on certain areas that a lot of firms don't even do. You know, have a practice in. Lisa, well, don't forget, only about 25% of the course at this stage is elective-based, and you'll still have that core of subjects: crim, legal institutions, evidence, property law, general commercial and FedCon law, all of which would be of interest to a lot of firms. So if I were you, which I'm not, I'd really just go with what my interests are and enjoy the chance to undertake some work in an area that I'm motivated to pursue. Don't you think? There's an awful lot of time in this profession where you'll be undertaking long, stressful hours on projects that don't really interest you as much.
Some years ago, Bjorn Lomborg, a young Danish statistician, published a book called The Skeptical Environmentalist. It became a bestseller and generated a lot of heat. Lomborg was attacked, abused, and accused of all manner of things, not because he denied the fact of global warming. In fact, he affirmed it, but because, on his analysis, the devil, and he says, a lot of deviousness was contained in the details presented concerning the size of the problem and what were the most responsible steps to take in response to global warming.
Giant exoplanets, like the so-called hot Jupiters that are similar in characteristics to the solar system's biggest planet and orbit very close to their host stars, are excellent targets for astronomers in their search for their extrasolar worlds. The size and proximity of these planets is easy to detect, as they create a large decrease in brightness when passing in front of their parent stars.
Two decades ago,
Kashmiri houseboat owners rub their hands every spring at the prospect of the annual influx of tourists. From May to October, the hyacinth-choked waters of Dal Lake saw flotillas of vividly painted shikaras carrying Indian families, boho Westerners, young travelers, and wide-eyed Japanese. Carpet sellers honed their skills, as did purveyors of anything remotely embroidered, while the houseboats initiated by the British Raj provided unusual accommodation. Any foreigners venturing there risked their lives, proved in 1995 when 5 young Europeans were kidnapped and murdered.
So between 4000 and 3000 BC, the Mesopotamian Sumerian cultures do not practice any kind of burial. And then, about 3000 in the early dynastic period, these burials start to reappear, and they reappear with a certain amount of conspicuous consumption, and this is the context for the royal burials at Ur. Okay, so, the royal cemetery consists of quite a number of pits, so these are the excavation workers who are coming down into the pits. So you get some sense of how really deep and how really difficult it was to construct these chambers.
Green chemistry is a concept designed to develop technologies which allow chemistry to be practiced with minimal damage to the environment or in an environmentally compatible way. And it's meant to cover both chemical processes and chemical products. The center, if you would, set up about 7 or 8 years ago. And the idea was to provide a hub of activities that covered fundamental research work, industrial collaboration, but also educational developments. So we work with schools and on public projects as well, and also networking. So we network out to well over 1,000 people around the globe. The thing that makes it difficult is because even if life had evolved on Mars, the chances of being preserved are very small. If we use Earth as a reference and our planet is teeming with life, yet it rarely preserves evidence of life of the fossil record. And the focus now is on exploring for habitable environments. If you're looking for water, a source of energy, either solar energy or thermal energy or chemical energy, and then organic carbon, assuming life as we know it on Earth is based on carbon. So those are sort of the 3 things that we're looking for in the course of our mission.
In this tutorial, we will show you how to find specific journal articles using the library catalog. The university subscribes to over 18,000 journals across a variety of subjects, most of which are available electronically to find a specific journal article using a library catalog. We need to search by the journal name, as individual article titles are not listed in the catalog.
Belief is the human capacity to imagine, to be creative, to hope and dream, to infuse the world with meanings, and to cast our aspirations far and wide. Limited neither by personal experience nor material reality, believing is a commitment, an investment, a devotion to possibilities. Beliefs permeate neurobiologies, bodies and ecologies, acting as dynamic agents in evolutionary processes. The human capacity for belief, the specifics of belief, and our diverse belief systems, shape, structure, and alter our daily lives, our societies, and the world around us.
Also, malaria is something that is a very complex disease with this complex life cycle. That means that if you're going to eliminate it, you have to be able to target cute parasites in humans. You have to be able to target parasites in the mosquitoes, that mosquito population. And so that requires a lot of resources. It requires really good planning and a health system across all these different levels. And so I think the political capital that you need for that, the educational infrastructure you need for that, the economic resources you need for that are quite a challenge.
For a long time now, it's been a widely accepted and rarely questioned belief that a strong corporate culture goes hand in hand with success. However, a recent study has cast some doubt on this principle. After all, the authors of the report argue for culture. A company's build-up may be strong, but wrong. There is little point in every employee marching to the same tune if they are all marching in the wrong direction.
We are trying to understand the locomotion of one of our closest living relatives, which is the orangutan, and also the locomotion of all of the apes and the common ancestor of humans and the other apes. And in that area, we have had a big problem traditionally, and that we know a lot about how they move around the forest. I've been out to the forest and spent a year recording the different types of locomotion they use, but we have no idea about the energetic cost of how they move around the forest and the solutions that they find to problems of moving around the canopy. And what we're doing here is using the parkour athletes as an analogy for a large-bodied ape moving around a complex environment and getting them to move around in the course that we've made that they've never seen before. And we're going to record their energetic expenditure while they're doing it.
I'm going to argue that the tremendous increases in productivity that we associate with the Industrial Revolution originate not so much from changes in science or technology or new inventions, where England was far from unique as from changes in attitudes towards morality, towards what constituted the good, attitudes towards property, which became in England individuals long before it did on the continent, attitudes toward the proper role of government. And together, these attitudes constitute much of what the Luddites were protesting against.
Well, the banana is the first cultivated fruit. It's one of the food items that literally brought people out of the jungle, out of their hunter-gatherer lifestyles, and was there at the dawn of agriculture, which is what helped force human beings into communities. It's really one of the things that helped invent human culture. It's about 7,000 years of history, and the banana, from its center of origin, which is believed to be Papua New Guinea, spread out with people who travelled in boats across the Pacific into the mainland of Asia and all the way south to Australia, across Indonesia and Micronesia. And eventually they moved as far as Africa and even possibly to Ecuador, all in this time, and all on paddle boats and wind-driven boats.
One of the things that people have said about agriculture is that on the whole it's more labor-intensive than hunting and gathering. And that's one of the reasons why people have looked to explanations which, you might say, are kind of coercive factors. That people have been forced into agriculture because they had no alternative. That is ultimately what may happen. But at the very beginning, it could be that agriculture was developed because people wanted special status foods for feasting. That it was actually a social need. I mean, how much of what we do in our lives is generated by competition with others? And a lot of that is powered by desire for new things, new statuses, new whatever it might be. Respect, recognition also are important. And in small-scale societies, a lot of those sorts of factors are generated by the ability to, for instance, throw feasts. One possibility is that some of these foods that were being grown were actually intended especially as feasting foods. Perhaps you remember the dire predictions from the analysts. The fall-off in housing threatened to drag down the entire economy. High energy prices put the kibosh on consumer spending. Runaway inflation was poised to take off. David Weiss is an economist at Standard & Poor's. He says in the end, none of those things happened in the final 3 months of last year.
For 4 centuries, the Viking declined. The people of the Shetland Islands off the north coast of Scotland continued to sell their goods through the North European Hanseatic League. The Hanse's merchants bought shiploads of salted fish, and in return, the islanders got cash, grain, cloth, and other goods. This lasted until the Act of Union between Scotland and England in 1707. This act prohibited the Hanse merchants from trading with Scotland. Consequently, Shetland went into an economic depression. The independent farmers of Shetland had to sell their land and were then obligated to pay rent, eventually becoming serfs.
My hero is Marie Curie. She was a Polish physicist and chemist working in France, and she did conduct pioneering research on radioactivity. She was also the first woman who won a Nobel Prize. Marie Curie is my hero because she showed a lot of determination in following her career path and her passions. She also showed a lot of patience in working for years to receive results from her experiments. And Marie Curie, she designed and built the first mobile X-ray machines. She worked on the front lines of the First World War along with her daughter saving soldiers.
So in a very important tense, memory is the cognitive function that stores knowledge that we've acquired through learning and perception. But also, memory is important because memory frees our behavior from being controlled by the present stimulus environment. If you didn't have memory, all you'd be able to do was react to whatever is currently in the environment now, whatever it is that you're experiencing. But memory allows us to respond to past events as well as events in the current stimulus environment. And memory also gives us the means to reflect on our experiences so that we plan for future encounters.
One day the banana is perfect, bright yellow, firm, flavorful, but even within that same day, brown spots appear on your perfectly ripe banana, its flesh turns mushy, and it's destined for the compost or at best, banana bread. But scientists are developing a way to extend the life of ripe bananas. It's a spray-on coating made from chitosan, a substance found in crab and shrimp shells. The new gel can be sprayed on bananas to slow the ripening process by up to 12 days. Like other fruits, bananas remain alive after being picked and it actually continues to respire. This means that they take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. The more the banana breathes, the faster it ripens and then rots. Bananas ripen more quickly than most fruit because they don't naturally slow the respiration after being picked. In fact, it speeds up, causing bananas to become mushy. Chitosan not only kills the bacteria on banana's skin that then leads to rot, it also, significantly, slows down the respiration in the first place. So bananas won't drive you bananas.
Adidas teamed up with an organization called Parley for the Oceans. Parley goes out and collects plastic waste from the ocean. Adidas uses the plastic waste to make shoes. Shoes made with plastic from the ocean. Good for the environment and good for business. Because if you know that rapidly growing consumer segment, known as hipsters, and I know you know hipsters, then you know that a hipster faced with the choice between a no-name shoe and an Adidas made with plastic from the ocean will pick the Adidas every day of the week and twice on Sunday, and then walk around like it's no big deal, but look for every opportunity to talk about them.
So 2 decades later, what's changed? It's now widely recognized that just 20% of health outcomes are tied to medical care, whereas up to 70% are tied to healthy behaviors and what's called the social determinants of health. Basically, everything that happens to us for that vast majority of time when we're not in the doctor's office or the hospital. Healthcare executives now routinely remind us that our zip code matters more than our genetic code. And one healthcare publication even recently had the audacity to describe the social determinants of health as the feel-good buzzword of the year.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My theme for this session is Convergence, Technology, Change, and Business Practice. This is somewhat dear to my heart, in that I have spent much of the last 15 years involved in various aspects of technology and their impact on business, across a broad spectrum, from applications of signal processing in manufacture right through to the use of utilization data and diary applications to improve the time utilization of the sales force.
What was interesting and revealing about younger and middle-aged views on old age was how relative these were to the individual's own age. Those in their teens regarded 40 as old, whereas those in their 40s thought 70 or 80 was old. For many, health was seen as a determining factor in deciding who is old, and many young participants commented on how fit and active their grandparents are, while others thought ill health and dependence were an inevitable part of aging. The majority of participants, however, regarded old age as something negative, and many expressed fear of growing old.
Lead-in time is the amount of time that elapses between a business placing an order with a supplier for more stock or raw materials and the delivery of the goods to the business. Businesses want the lead time to be as short as possible so that they can meet their customer orders and minimize the time between paying for the stock and receiving the feedback from the customer. However, this may not happen due to a number of factors, such as delays in the supplier receiving the order, or the breakdown of the supplier's lorries delivering the stock to the business.
The earlier chocolate was quite unpalatable. They used to add things to it to make it more palatable. So for the early chocolate, they didn't know how to extract all the cocoa fat from it. So it was, or could be quite greasy, and if you made it as a drink, you'd have this sort of scum on the top. So they used to try and add things to it, like starch and things, to make it a more palatable product. So there were a lot of scandals around the kind of things they were adding to chocolate in the 19th century. So by the sort of 1870s, 1880s, there are people like Cadbury's saying, "Our chocolate is absolutely pure. We have this new process The Van Houten process, which now extracts all this horrible fat that we can use to make eating chocolate. Now we have a pure product.
So palm oil is the most widely produced oil crop currently. It's used in a wider range of industries, including food for biofuels and in soaps and shampoo. However, those sectors growing fast, and unfortunately, palm oil grows in exactly the same environment as tropical rainforest. So, the use and the development of palm oil, the growth in the sector, is leading to wide-scale deforestation. What we are hoping to do is if we can come up an alternative, we can slow the growth of the sector and therefore stop the wide-scale deforestation in South Asia.
As with all human behavior, there are numerous reasons for it. But often it's caused by someone who feels the need to show their superiority over someone else in order to feel that they aren't at the lowest level in hierarchy or a group of people. In some cases, one person simply dislikes the other on the basis that the personality of one is in some way incompatible with that of the other person.
We've decided to adopt, just as a loose theme for the course, a biological theme so that you can see the connections between chemistry and biology and the things you might consider doing in the future. We want you to think about the molecules that are relevant to your body, the processes that occur in your body, the chemistry that's going on, and how energy plays a role. And we've divided the course into 4 sections, and after each section, there will be a midterm. The first one is about matter.
One seminal difference in policy remains. The coalition has not matched what is Labor's most important innovation promise. That is to bring together responsibilities for innovation, industry, science, and research under one single federal minister. Innovation responsibilities currently lie within the powerful Department of Education and Science, and while there is a separate industry department, it has little influence within cabinet. This has hampered policy development and given Australia's innovation policies a distinct science and research bias. It is the scientists rather than the engineers who call the tune in innovation policy in Canberra, so it's no surprise our policies are all about boosting government-funded research and later commercializing their results.
Colombia on Tuesday adopted a tax reform plan that was at the root of violent anti-government protests that left more than 60 people dead this year, but was eventually reconfigured to be kinder to the middle class and the poor. President Ivan Duque signed the so-called Social Investment Law, which has as its stated objective to combat poverty in a country hit hard by the coronavirus epidemic. He says the law will, quote, benefit nearly 29 million Colombians in a vulnerable situation, out of a total population of some 50 million. A first version of the law presented by Duque early this year to combat the economic consequences of the global health crisis would have significantly increased taxes on an already battered middle class.
Colombian military and police have confirmed that they have captured Dairo Antonio Usuga, known as Otoniel, Colombia's most sought-after drug trafficker and leader of the Clan del Golfo. He was captured on Saturday during an operation carried out by the country's armed forces. Colombia had offered a reward of about $800,000 for information concerning his whereabouts. Italy's right-wing former Interior Minister Matteo Salvini went on trial Saturday on charges of kidnapping for refusing in 2019 to allow a Spanish migrant rescue ship to dock in Sicily, keeping the people on board at sea for days.
UNICEF is warning that schools in Haiti are increasingly at the mercy of gangs, with children becoming targets of robbery or ransom. The agency said Tuesday at least 7 schools in the capital of Port-au-Prince have been forced to pay unidentified gangs in exchange for security in the past 2 months, and that additional institutions have also been threatened. The warning comes days after authorities said gang members killed a university professor they had recently abducted. In addition, U.S. and Haitian authorities are still trying to secure the release of 17 missionaries from a U.S. religious organization who were kidnapped on October 16th near the capital.
A massive tow truck worked Saturday to remove the remains of a burned-out oil tanker that exploded in a giant fireball overnight near the capital of Sierra Leone. Reuters' David Doyle has more. Deputy Health Minister Amara Jambai said the death toll currently stands at 99, with more than 100 people being treated in hospitals and clinics across the capital, Freetown. In a video from the scene shared online, the head of the National Disaster Management Agency, Brima Bore Sisay, said, "We've got so many casualties, burnt corpses," adding, "It's a terrible, terrible accident." Freetown's mayor said the extent of the damage from Friday's explosion was not yet known, adding that police and her deputy were at the scene to assist disaster management officials.
At least 5 people were killed and several others wounded when Sudanese security forces opened fire on demonstrators in Khartoum and elsewhere in the country Saturday. The Sudan Doctors Committee said 4 people died from gunshots and 1 suffocated from tear gas in Khartoum and Omdurman on Saturday. Several other protesters were wounded, including from gunshots. The rallies came 2 days after military coup leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reappointed himself the head of the Sovereign Council, Sudan's interim governing body. Thursday's move angered the pro-democracy alliance and frustrated the United States and other countries that have urged the military to reverse its coup and to restore civilian rule.
Life in the UK 2012 provides a unique overview of well-being in the UK today. The report is the first snapshot of life in the UK to be delivered by the Measuring National Wellbeing Programme and will be updated and published annually. Well-being is discussed in terms of the economy, people, and the environment. Information such as the unemployment rate or number of crimes against the person are presented alongside data on people's thoughts and feelings. For example, satisfaction with our jobs or leisure time and fear of crime. Together, a richer picture on how society is doing is provided.
President Trump has warned Turkey's President Erdogan that foreign interference is complicating the situation in Libya. It comes after Turkey MPs approved a bill allowing the military to be deployed to interfere in Libya's civil war in support of the UN-backed government in Tripoli. The United States is to ban a number of popular e-cigarette flavors to curb the rising use of vaping products among teenagers. However, Menthol and tobacco flavors will be allowed to remain on the market, and large refillable vaping devices are completely exempt from the ban.
First it was pets, then fish, now it's poultry and pigs. The list of animals allowed to feed on insects is growing. A new EU law authorizing the use of insect protein in poultry and pig feed came into force earlier this month, a significant milestone for an industry keen to worm its way into the animal feed business. Since a ban on processed animal protein was imposed in 2001 in the wake of the mad cow crisis, soy and fish meal have become the bedrock of animal feed in Europe.
It was another roller coaster week for energy prices. After OPEC and its allies resisted calls to increase output, the price of Brent crude surpassed $80 per barrel and reached its highest level in 3 years. The cartel said it would stick to the gradual increases in output it agreed to over the summer. The energy shortage rattled other financial markets too, as investors worried about the fallout. In America and Europe, government bond yields climbed. In Britain, the yield on 10-year gilts jumped to its highest since May 2019.
One day the banana is perfect, bright yellow, firm, flavorful, but even within that same day, brown spots appear on your perfectly ripe banana, its flesh turns mushy, and it's destined for the compost or at best, banana bread. But scientists are developing a way to extend the life of ripe bananas. It's a spray-on coating made from chitosan, a substance found in crab and shrimp shells. The new gel can be sprayed on bananas to slow the ripening process by up to 12 days. Like other fruits, bananas remain alive after being picked, and it actually continues to respire. This means that they take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. The more the banana breathes, the faster it ripens and then rots. Bananas ripen more quickly than most fruit because they don't naturally slow the respiration after being picked. In fact, it speeds up, causing bananas to become mushy. Chitosan not only kills the bacteria on banana's skin that then leads to rot, it also, significantly slows down the respiration in the first place. So bananas won't drive you bananas.
Alright guys, so I hope that you have practiced all these questions, and there is a great chance that these questions might approach in your exam. Again, I would like to let you know that you can follow us for all our latest updates on our Instagram, YouTube, as well as on TikTok or Facebook. Join our special WhatsApp group that is going to give you many latest updates that how you can crack your exam. All the details will be mentioned here in description. All the socials will also be here. Again, if you're looking forward to any assistance for your IELTS, PT or NATI, we are here to help you. Thank you so much. I'm going to see you in the next one.